joining us for the School of Medicine's Visiting Student Application Service Google Hangout. My name is Ebony Dixon, and today it is my pleasure to serve as the Google Hangout moderator. The Visiting Student Application Service Hangout is designed to take place as a two-series phase. Phase 1, which will occur today, will be an overview of the Visiting Student Application Service, also commonly referred to as VSAS. Today we'll focus on many things, such as what you can do now to prepare yourself for the application submission, important dates to keep in mind, frequently asked questions, and determining if an away elective is the option for you. Our second phase of the Google Hangout will take place in mid to late January. For those of you who may not have heard, VSAS and Global Health Learning Opportunities, are commonly referred to as GLOW, will be merging in mid-January to form a single program called the AAMC Visiting Student Learning Opportunity. During the January Hangout, we'll review the revamped AAMC site, and the program then will be named AAMC Visiting Student Learning Opportunities. We'll go over the website along with application submission details. The newly combined program will offer both a U.S. component, previously VSAS, and an international component, previously known as GLOW. For today's information hangout, I am delighted to share this time with our panel members, who will provide information on what you'll need to be aware of in this stage. The Google Hangout will be streamed live. Make sure you take note of this at wayne.edu/live. And after the session has concluded, you'll receive an email that will contain this link along with some valuable URLs we would want you to pay attention to. We'll now go ahead and have an introduction of our VSAS panel members. Each of the panel members, if you would please provide your name, your title, and the office that you represent. Ms. Mayweather, if you would please go first.
Hi, my name is April Mayweather, and I am the VSAS coordinator here for Wayne State University School of Medicine.
Thank you so much. Ms. Connors?
Hi, I'm Kathleen Connors, and I'm a counselor in the Office of Student Affairs.
Okay, wonderful. And then Ms. Mohanan.
Hello, my name is Shabana Mohanan, and I am the financial aid officer assigned to the School of Medicine.
Wonderful. Thank you all so much for joining us today. And again, this is our phase 1 series, focusing on just some important information that students would want to be aware of as we head into the VSAS season. So right now we're going to go through a series of questions that were submitted prior to today when students RSVP to attend the Hangout. So what we're going to do is we're basically going to go around our panel and pose questions for responses. April, I'll go ahead and I'll pose the first question to you. If you could please just do an overview of what VSAS is.
VSAS is a program that the Association of American Medical Colleges has set up. The Away Elective program is designed to provide exposure to new educational experiences and a chance to explore residency opportunities at Liaison Committee on Medical Education, which is considered the LCME, and that's for accredited institutions.
Okay, thank you so much. Also, April, if you can tell us when is the earliest a student will be able to gain access to VSAS?
Sure. Students may begin accessing the revised VSAS website on January 2018. Right now, they're going through the process of revamping the website, so you can't go yet, but they're going to do a lot of things that are going to be different from last year, so that will happen in January. To access the VSAS website, you will be issued authorizations from your school, which is us. So we are going to send you out an email letting you know how those steps will be handled. The number of authorizations you receive determine how many electives that you can submit. We start off with 20. When you are issued that, you will receive a VSAS new users instructions email, and that will contain the information that you need to sign into VSAS.
Okay, sounds good. In preparation for the VSAS website going live in mid-January in combination with GLOW, What are some things that our students can prepare to do now as it stands going into the VSAS season?
Right now, you want to make sure that you have an updated CV. Make sure everything is current and up to date. And if you have anything prior to you beginning your application process, make sure everything is done at that point. You have to have a professional photo done. We don't do that here at the school. You can do that with the picture that you have, and you can upload that to the VSAS website. You also want to make sure your immunizations are updated. But keep in mind that you don't need your flu and your TB to be updated until prior to your application time for the elective that you choose for that period.
Okay, sounds good. And when can we start looking at schools as a student, as a current year 3 student? When can they begin looking at schools on the VSAS site? And then also going over requirements that are associated with those particular electives, and then submit the information as well.
Well, students may begin reviewing the VSAS host application requirements and the dates to which the institution will begin accepting those applications and processing them. It also gives them the fee information and more. Once the AAMC Visiting Students Learning Opportunities goes live, which is in January of 2018, you can get that information more.
Okay, wonderful, good. So January is a big month for our students, and now they're prepared to get those going. All right. Ms. Connors, we do have a question that maybe you can assist us with. Since you find out, this question is coming from one of our year 3 students. Since you find out whether you received an elective or not quite late, should you register for an elective at home, at a home hospital, and then cancel it if you get something away? Would you be able to assist with that response, please?
Of course. I know that some students are concerned about finding out late. That's pretty rare, but you should not put a home elective as a placeholder for an away elective. Our local partners, once you sign up for an elective, expect you to participate for that month. And they actually give our students priority over visiting students. So what we ask is that for the months that you're hoping to be away, you indicate that it's an away elective. Every specialty has an away notation with a course reference number. And most students are notified in May and June of acceptance. So there's plenty of time to replace with a home elective if it doesn't work out. And Mrs. Yates' records is very helpful to students, especially in the instance where students are notified late, but she will work with the students to secure a home elective.
Wonderful, that's good to know. All right, and then so Ms. Connors, also another question for you. How many months in advance should students apply for an away elective, and when will they know if they've been accepted?
That information will be on the website of each program. So that is something that's determined by the programs the students are applying to. And besides the VSAS website, there is a AAMC compendium of electives that students can go on to now and look at various programs they may be interested in. I have looked at this with several of my students already, and on the landing page of each program, it lists the earliest date they accept applications and the earliest date they start notifying students of acceptance. So it's a good idea to look at that. We can post the website after when we archive this and have it available for video streaming. The students could also just Google AAMC compendium and that will come up.
Okay, wonderful. Now, speaking in terms of away electives and submitting the application, Ms. Mayweather, do you, AAMC, it has been recommended that host institutions notify their students that they've been accepted in the away elective 30 days prior to the program beginning, 30 to 60 days beginning. Is that so?
Yes, that is definitely true.
Okay, so students should be made aware that they were received into that elective 30 to 60 days prior to the beginning of the program. So that's fantastic news to hear.
Right,
okay,
right.
Thank you for that confirmation.
Sure.
Another student sent in a question, very good question, dealing with financial assistance. Shabana, if you would please help us out in responding to this message, into this question. What kind of financial assistance can students expect or apply for the away rotation? For example, VSAS fees and travel, and then also housing. Is there something that students can apply for to cover those expenses?
Unfortunately, additional financial aid is not provided for any away rotations or related expenses. They will receive the standard living expenses and transportation costs for the months of coursework that they're registered for. And they're not increased specifically for the away rotation. This is because the away rotations are not required for graduation. Students are expected to budget their refunds, to accommodate the expenses related to VSAS or GLOW.
Okay, thank you so much. And then Shabana, students will be able to come in and ask questions of you should they have any other questions dealing with the fees or anything.
Yes.
So, okay. All right, our next question is coming from our RSVP site. April, if you would please assist with this one. When should students complete their VSAS application?
Once the revamped website goes live in January, you'll find that many of the host institutions will require applications to be submitted at least 30 to 60 days in advance. And for the rotation dates will be published at that time as well. As an example, an institution may publish a specialty program to the website on February the 1st, and the submission for completion of the application will likely begin for this, as an example, February 20th, followed by the processing of that same application on March the 20th. Students will be notified at a minimum of no later than 30 days to the start of the rotation if they have been accepted.
Okay, good to know. So mid-January, we got to keep that in mind, and students knowing 30 to 60 days prior to. So that's
right
for their own calendars.
I will say this, there are some times that an exception happens and someone that does have a place of acceptance for them did not follow through. So a student may get the acceptance letter or the acceptance email maybe 90 days because there was an opening. So always, keep that in mind that there are also, different types of situations that may allow a later time frame, but you will be accepted.
Okay, good to know. So definitely be cognizant of checking your email too.
Definitely.
Okay, great. Also, Ms. Mayweather, is there any supplemental information that may be requested of the student that a student should begin preparing for now as we're in the holding pattern? Just any supplemental documents that you may be aware of that students should be aware of as well?
Right now, as far as what we create for the students, we take care of a lot of them. But if they go to a school that wants more, or that are requiring more information or more documentation, this information is put into what's called the supplemental portion of the VSAS application.
Okay.
Right now, we do the proof of liability and malpractice insurance. That's already there. But if they need to see a copy of that, I will upload that for you.
Okay.
Proof of passing of the USMLE. For step 1, I've already put that you've passed. If they want that score, you can add that as a supplemental document. A personal statement, that's something that you do if that's required by that particular institution. Your current BLS and ACLS, I've already covered, and you have already done that. If they request that they want to see proof of that, then you add that to the supplemental area.
Okay. A
letter of good standing and the personal statement kind of go together. The flu vaccine with the year of the elective, that is normally under the AAMC immunization form. But if they need to see that in a separate location, that will go there, as well as your TB. But that is also on the AAMC immunization form. The background check for 2017 or 16 is normally what they ask for. That's already there for our Wayne State students. If they're asking for something in addition to that, that may have to be obtained and put into the supplemental. That is all that you need to do as far as right now. Sometimes they do ask for more than that. We can handle that on a student by student basis.
Okay, wonderful. Now, speaking of supplemental information and required documents, for our students who need to submit the immunization record, can you talk a little bit about the MD health records that we have here at the School of Medicine? And will students be able to visit that location in order to have those documents completed, or their primary care physician?
Sure. What happens is once you get your your form completed. Normally, your physician will do that, and he will sign it at the bottom. However, you can get your form done, completed, and it's not signed by your physician. And at that point, we have Dr. Blessman that's here on site, and he is at the MD Program for Health Records office, and he is able to review your immunization and sign it so that it can be uploaded and you can continue with the process. He also makes sure that your TB is up to date and that your influenza shot is up to date as well. That location is in the School of Medicine Landy Building, room 306, and that email is mdhealth, HEALTH, records, RECORDS, at wayne.edu. So if you have any questions, you can let me know and I can provide that information for you again.
Okay, wonderful. Also, we will have a URL link in the video, and then we'll also send it out once we send this Google Hangout to students once we conclude. So that information that Ms. Mayweather just spoke of will be accessible to you through the email that we'll send out following the Hangout once we're done today. Thank you so much, Ms. Mayweather. That was very, very helpful information in terms of just in case their primary care physician is not available, that they could go ahead and visit with Dr. Blessman as well. Ms. Mayweather, do you know, are any schools not taking the VSAS application?
Most schools do accept the AAMC VSAS application. However, there are some schools that are doing the application process for away electives and they're not participating in the VSAS process as of now. We just need to ensure that we have an affiliation agreement on file for those particular institutions. And if an agreement is in place in conjunction with your counselor and student affairs, the School of Medicine's away form is then completed. So those are the steps that you would take. And if you have any questions, you can just let us know.
Okay, wonderful. Ms. Connors, I do have a question for you. Would you please assist in answering this one? Do all students need to do an away elective? Isn't each field different? What are the benefits of doing one?
Those are really good questions that I get quite often. We've noticed over the years that a lot of students feel that they have to do them at national meetings, and it definitely isn't necessary. What I think students should think of as a first step is, first of all, choosing your specialty and then talking to faculty in that specialty to see if they recommend it. Because there are probably programs that really want to get a sense of the student and it could benefit you, but it's certainly not necessary in order to get interviews. Careers in Medicine also provides data under each specialty about the importance of doing away electives, and that's at https://students-residence.aamc.org. The benefit can be if there's a particular program that you're really interested in and you may have a concern about your competitiveness for that program. Working there for a month can really give them an opportunity to see how well you perform clinically, and it also allows you and the program to see if you're a good fit for that program. So it certainly can be a benefit if you know your clinical skills are good and you want to begin networking with people at that program. I think it's worthwhile, but again, not necessary in order to be offered interviews and to match successfully.
Okay, thank you so much, Ms. Connors. Our next question coming in is, can you provide any helpful tips in preparing for away selection, for elective selection? Ms. Mayweather, if you could help with this response.
Yes, you should always begin thinking about your rotation programs you would be interested in learning, the locations you would like to visit, and once the AAMC is updated and the site opens, you can identify those areas and you can keep in mind and pay close attention to the program dates that are available for you. I think it's very important for you to stay cognizant of the fact that these are very competitive spots, so you need to make sure that you are always staying on track, looking, watching, and making sure you have all the necessary documents that you need so that you can successfully get the elective that you like.
That's very sound advice. Thank you so much. Our next question, This is an important question as well. What should students do if they need lodging during their away elective?
I mean, that's a very good question. I get that from a lot of my students, and now we're at the point where the AAMC recommends a visiting site called rotatingroom.com, and I'm going to spell that for you. rotatingroom.com, and that's a sublet site for students who are in need of lodging during their 4th year of electives. So it's not a scary or a creepy thing. It allows you to talk to other students so that you are in a safe environment.
Very good information. And so the site, once again, if you would say that once again for our students.
Sure. It's rotatingroom.com, and I'll spell that again.
Okay.
rotatingroom.com.
Yes, wonderful. Okay, and then Shabana, I see you had your hand raised. You wanted to offer some additional comments about this response?
Yes, our university also has something that we call the HOST program. It stands for Help Our Students Travel. It's sponsored by the Wayne State University Medical Alumni Association. And although I'm not sure, how many of our alumni will be able to host students, for like a month for their away electives, I would also recommend that as a resource.
Okay, wonderful. All right, so our next question that is coming in, Ms. Connors, I believe that you would be able to assist with this one, if you would, please. If I wanted to connect with an upperclassman who had already gone through the away elective experience, how might I do that? Oh, Ms. Connors, I believe you need to unmute your microphone.
Sorry about that.
No problem. Did you want me to restate, or are you okay?
Yeah,
Okay.
a very good question. I think that I'm
sorry,
I'm getting better now. So to my knowledge, there is not a database at the school that lists each student that did an away elective and where they did it. So I encourage students to work through the specialty interest groups, and even if they don't attend the meetings, contact the coordinators there or the doctors, and also the class listserv of the class ahead of you. And the other thing is I encourage students to attend the Meet the Match panels that occur in late March and in April after our students learn that they have matched successfully. It really help.
And how do students become aware of where the match program is? Is there something that goes out through the listserv when that will take place?
About the panels?
Right.
Yes.
Okay.
They happen through the specialty groups. And I'm sorry, I'm getting playback. And we send an email, or the students are organized, send out an email that's usually in the subject line, meet the matched in ophthalmology and ER. So those are really helpful to the students that are coming behind them.
Okay, great. So students, again, make sure you're paying attention to your email. There's great information coming that way. Our next question, Ms. Mayweather, I have this one for you. Who should students contact at the School of Medicine to assist with gaining access to their Visiting Students Learning Opportunities application once it does become live in mid to late January?
Right now, you can contact me. I am in the Records and Registration Department at the School of Medicine, but I would be your direct contact. And you can either call me at 313-577-1471, or you can email me at amayweat@med.wayne.edu if you have any questions. But what we're going to do is email you the instructions for starting the VSAS process. And we will issue you the token so that you can get started looking at your electives at that point and learning the site. Additionally, Records and Registration is in collaboration with the Office of Student Affairs, and we will assist you in your application submission process of VSAS applications as well as the hard applications. But we do ask that once you see your electives that you like and once you've completed your process, that you don't contact us about your transcripts. What VSAS does is it alerts me Immediately once you've completed your process and it tells me that you've done this, so I need to make a movement for you. And at that point, I will go ahead and verify your application. I will make sure everything is correct, and I will submit your transcript, and I will send your application on to your school that was selected by you. Whether it's 1 or 20 schools, it will be done like that, and I will know every time that you've done something. But if you ever have any questions, please feel free to contact or email me, but we will make sure all of this is done within 1 to 3 days.
That's fantastic. Thank you so much for that. And then to the other two panel members, Ms. Connors and then also Ms. Mohanan, because April also was able to provide her contact information, if you would please state your contact information so that our students can gather that should they need to follow up with any questions that they may have at the conclusion of today's Hangout or later on as we approach the January season. Ms. Connors, if you would please go ahead and provide your contact information.
Yes. It's important for students to contact us as well. As we've said earlier, some programs do not participate in VSAS and involve a paper application, and our office will assist them in collecting all the necessary information for their application and helping to send that out for them. So they can reach us at 313-577-1463. They can email me at kconnors, CONNORS, at wayne.edu, and to schedule an appointment, they can either call the office or go through wams.wayne.edu/OSA and schedule an appointment with me.
Okay, fantastic. And then Ms. Mohanan, if you would please provide your contact information for financial aid at this time.
Yes. Students can call the financial aid office. Our phone number is 313-577-1039, or you can schedule an appointment with myself or my colleague, Adam Zangerly, online at wams.wayne.edu. It's the same site that, Ms. Connors just mentioned. So it's wams, WAMS.wayne.edu. And as well as, just emailing us at finaidmed@wayne.edu, which is FINAIDMED, all small letters, all no dots or anything, finaidmed@wayne.edu, and we'll be able to schedule an appointment that way, or you can just ask your general question.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you all for that information. Again, to our audience or those watching this Google Hangout, this Google Hangout was designed so that we can bring it to you in 2 phases. This phase was basically an overview of what you can be doing now to prepare to launch into the VSAS season. Again, VSAS, the AAMC VSAS, and also Global Health Learning Opportunities, formerly referred to as GLOW, has decided to merge applications, and so there will be one cohesive application when they relaunch the site in mid-January. After the site has been launched, we will bring you another Google Hangout, which will focus on the revamped website, and then also it would focus on the application submission process, and again, important deadline dates that you may want to make sure to keep in mind. At this time, I would also like to thank all of my panel members who assisted today and provided such valuable information, along with the contact information. Students, we do encourage you all to submit questions should you have them, or come by to ask those questions to Ms. Mayweather, Ms. Connors, and then also Ms. Mohanan. After today's Google Hangout has ended, as stated before, we will send out an email. Thank you all for viewing us today. But then also there will be a link to today's session so that you can watch it again and again. Should you have any questions or should you have missed any information, we would definitely welcome that those questions to come forward. And we do encourage you to watch that. For any questions that you may have later today that you may not have had when you submitted your reservation, please feel free to take down this email address. We will respond to your questions within 24 to 48 hours. The email that you can send your questions to is medenrollment. That's MED enrollment, ENROLLMENT @wayne.edu. Again, send any questions that you have about the VSAS process, the Visiting Student Learning Opportunities revamped website. You can send all that information and those questions to medenrollment, at wayne.edu, and we will respond to you accordingly. But please allow us 24 to 48 hours in order to get back with you. We would also like to encourage you to continue to learn more about the combined application by visiting directly the AAMC website. To do that, you would just go to AAMC.org/services/visiting students. Again, the website is, as it currently stands, the singular VSAS application and the singular GLOW application. Mid-January, they will merge the application, and then it will become the new service. But for the meantime, you can visit the AAMC Visiting Student Learners site at AAMC.org/services/visiting students. We really hope that you all join us again mid to late January for our second phase of the discussion, where we will get more in depth with the application process and then do an overview of the website. Thank you so much for your attention. Thank you, panel members. Please, everyone, enjoy the afternoon. And students, we look forward to working with you as we launch into the 2018 VSAS application season. And we welcome any questions that you may have. Thank you all so much. And if you would please note that today's Google Hangout will be archived. You can watch it again at wayne.edu/live. Thank you, everyone, and have a great afternoon.